Under the crisp Beijing sky, reporters gathered inside the Ministry of Foreign Affairs briefing hall, their cameras trained on the podium where Mao Ning, China's official spokesperson, was about to address an issue stirring new waves across global security circles. Moments earlier, US President Donald Trump had reignited a decades-old debate by asserting that Russia and China were conducting nuclear tests, allegedly outside the transparency required by international norms. The accusation, though not accompanied by direct evidence, quickly rippled through diplomatic capitals, prompting Beijing to issue an immediate and firm response. As the briefing began, the tone inside the room was measured but unmistakably serious. Mao Ning stood before a cluster of microphones, her demeanour composed yet resolute, signalling that China intended to counter the US president's claims not with rhetoric but with principle. As a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council and a responsible nuclear power, China has always followed the path of peaceful development, pursued a policy of no first use of nuclear weapons, upheld a nuclear self-defense strategy, and respected its commitment to suspend nuclear testing. We are willing to work with all parties to jointly uphold the authority of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty and preserve the international nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation regime. We hope that the United States will also sincerely respect its obligations under the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty and its commitment to suspend nuclear testing and take concrete steps to preserve the international disarmament and non-proliferation regime. Her remarks, lasting just under 40 seconds, became the focal point of Beijing's diplomatic pushback. Each line reinforced China's preferred image, that of a stable, rule-abiding nuclear power acting within the framework of global treaties. The Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, or CTBT, lies at the heart of this exchange. Signed in 1996, the treaty prohibits all nuclear explosions, whether for weapons development or any other purpose. China signed the CTBT, but, like the United States, has yet to ratify it. Yet Beijing has repeatedly stated that it abides by its moratorium on nuclear testing, a stance that remains a core pillar of its national security messaging. The accusation from Washington came amid renewed scrutiny of global arms control norms. Trump's claim, made aboard Air Force One while addressing reporters, echoed a familiar narrative from his earlier presidency that America's rivals were advancing weapons capabilities in secret while the United States was restrained by treaties and bureaucracy. But Beijing's reaction was more than a denial. It was a diplomatic counter-message aimed at portraying the United States as the party undermining non-proliferation. In the following hours, Chinese state media amplified Mao Ning's remarks across national and international channels, emphasizing phrases such as peaceful development, no first use, and jointly uphold the CTBT. Commentators on Chinese television framed the issue as part of a broader pattern, suggesting that Washington's allegations were designed to politicize scientific monitoring data and erode international trust. Analysts note that this exchange comes at a sensitive moment in US-China relations. Tensions remain high over technology restrictions, Taiwan and the South China Sea. Any suggestion of renewed nuclear testing, even unsubstantiated, risks aggravating already strained lines of communication between the two powers. At the same time, Beijing's invocation of no first use serves as a pointed reminder of its long-standing nuclear doctrine, contrasting it with what Chinese officials often describe as America's strategic ambiguity. For China, reiterating restraint is as much about global image as it is about deterrence credibility. Inside Washington, reaction to Beijing's denial was mixed. Some analysts argued that Trump's statement might have been based on intelligence assessments regarding low-yield seismic activity near known Chinese testing sites such as Lop Nor. Others, however, viewed the accusation as a political move intended to pressure China amid a larger geopolitical contest. Meanwhile, diplomats at the United Nations in Vienna, where the CTBT's monitoring system is based, were cautious. The treaty's global network of seismic and radionuclide sensors had not reported any confirmed nuclear tests by China or Russia in recent months. Still, US intelligence officials have periodically cited ambiguous signals, the kind that can stem from subcritical experiments which technically do not violate the treaty's provisions. As a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council and a responsible nuclear power, China has always followed the path of peaceful development, pursued a policy of no first use of nuclear weapons, upheld a nuclear self-defense strategy, and respected its commitment to suspend nuclear testing. We are willing to work with all parties to jointly uphold the authority of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty and preserve the international nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation regime. We hope that the United States will also sincerely respect its obligations under the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty and its commitment to suspend nuclear testing and take concrete steps to preserve the international disarmament and non-proliferation regime, nuclear non-proliferation, and that they will maintain global strategic balance and stability. The line between scientific research and treaty violation is, by nature, complex. China, for its part, insists that its activities are fully transparent and consistent with the international testing moratorium that has been in place for over 2 decades. To contextualize Beijing's message, it's important to remember how central the CTBT has become to China's broader diplomatic identity. Since the 1990s, Chinese leaders have used the treaty as a symbol of their support for global strategic stability. Mao Ning's words on this November morning echoed that tradition, one rooted in careful balancing between deterrence and diplomacy. Her statement also subtly inverted the narrative. While Trump accused Beijing of secrecy, Mao Ning framed Washington as the reluctant party when it comes to fulfilling the treaty's obligations. By urging the US to sincerely respect its obligations, she positioned China as the advocate of restraint, a diplomatic maneuver designed to resonate with non-aligned countries wary of renewed nuclear rivalry. In a wider strategic sense, this exchange reveals how nuclear discourse has re-entered mainstream geopolitics. From Moscow to Washington and now Beijing, major powers are again invoking deterrence, modernization, and treaty compliance in the same breath. It underscores the fragility of the post-Cold War arms control architecture, one built on mutual restraint, yet increasingly tested by mistrust. Within hours of Mao Ning's briefing, Chinese social platforms began circulating short clips of her remarks, tagged with phrases like peaceful China, responsible power. State-run outlets such as Xinhua and Global Times carried English-language versions for global audiences, ensuring that Beijing's framing reached Western media cycles. Outside observers have also noted the timing of Trump's accusation, coming just as Washington and Beijing were tentatively preparing for new dialogue on defense communications. Some analysts suspect that the comment could derail those talks, or at least inject a layer of suspicion into already delicate exchanges. From a journalistic standpoint, today's statement represents both a defensive clarification and a calculated message. Beijing seeks to preempt any narrative portraying it as escalating a nuclear competition, while subtly turning the spotlight on Washington's own non-ratification of the CTBT. As the press briefing concluded, Mao Ning left the podium without taking additional questions, a sign that Beijing's position was firm, not open to reinterpretation. For now, the issue remains one of perception and politics rather than confirmed evidence. But the rhetorical exchange between Trump and the Chinese government has revived a long-dormant debate about verification, transparency, and the future of nuclear restraint. In the closing analysis, China's denial today carries more than just policy weight. It reflects the country's determination to frame itself as a guardian of global stability, especially at a time when international institutions are under strain and strategic distrust is mounting across continents. As the lights dimmed inside the press hall, one thing was clear. In the renewed contest of global narratives, even a few words about testing can reverberate like an echo of the Cold War, unsettling, symbolic, and impossible to ignore.